So welcome to another edition of On the Couch. Today we have the team from Maslow. Hey team, how you going?
Good to see you, mate.
Great to see you. Thanks for spending some time with us. So we might start with you, Andrew. Can you tell us a little bit about where the idea for Maslow came from?
We started Maslow in response to something that happened to a friend of mine and Nitin's, Kevin. He was riding his bike and he slipped his head and suffered a traumatic injury. So he spent 9 months in rehab hospital, but it was when he was discharged that we started seeing some of the interesting things happening around not knowing what to do at home, not knowing how to manage and deal with large care teams, and not knowing where he was at with his rehabilitation. So we really looked at that, and Nitin coming from a therapy background and myself coming from a product design background, we said, this isn't good enough, and there are ways to address this using technology. So we stepped into that and really explored that, connected with a lot of other people that have had similar experiences, and that's where Maslow was born out of.
Fantastic. Steve, I know that you joined the team after Nitin and Andrew had started that. You were speaking at a technology event. Tell us a little bit about how you met and what you've done since joining the team.
So I met Andrew and Nitin shortly after I was discharged from hospital as well. I've been doing a lot of accessibility and disability ambassador work for Apple in my time since having a spinal cord injury, just to highlight the benefits socially from a work perspective, and also just to stay engaged and able to manage your own life and regain a bit of independence after a spinal injury. So I was doing a lot of these talks, and as you said, I mentioned, and then you mentioned that I'd met Andrew and Nitin just post one of those events, and we got to talking about how we could improve the rehab experience that I'd literally just come out of. So it was a great opportunity to meet those guys, and just to start working with them on how we could look to improve the experience of people with spinal cord injury and how they can move on with their life in a positive way.
And Nitin, I know that you're coming kind of from more of a clinical background. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience and what you're bringing to the team?
Yeah, so I was working as an occupational therapist for the last 6 years or so, and I was mainly working in tertiary acute hospitals and rehab hospitals. It was super impactful work. It was really rewarding to be able to make change and help someone recover and leave the hospital to go home. But some of the challenges I faced at the time, as a clinician, was that all this education that we give to people verbally, mostly was just getting forgotten. We'd be giving papers to send home or programs to be done at home, and most of it, we were like, no worries, I'll get it done. And then 6 or 2 weeks later or 4 weeks later, they're back in the hospital and they've got the same condition or issue that they've come in before. And these guys had chronic medical conditions or disabilities that really needed to be looked after. And I always kind of questioned if there was a better way to actually approach doing rehab and care for our patients, because again, we're doing a great job in the hospital, but once they leave, we've got no support or control in the community. And then I bumped into Andrew and Ilya, and our common ground was Kevin, our mate. And we're talking about, some of the solutions from a technology point of view that could actually support someone like Kevin. And it started with just our mate and how his experience around a traumatic injury impacted his life and what we could potentially do. And we expanded further to what about all the other young people that had a chronic condition or a traumatic injury. And that's how I joined the Maslow team.
You've participated in another accelerator program. You're now in the Remarkable Accelerator program. We're at the halfway point, and how have you found the experience so far? Any highlights that you want to add?
Basically, when we started off Maslow, we were kind of in our own silo, and there was actually a bit of pressure that we were taking on this significant problem. And a bunch of people collaborating to solve a problem for a mate and an extended cohort of young people as well. But entering Remarkable, there's a whole bunch of teams of startups focusing on similar problems in their own spaces that are in social impact or disability. And it kind of normalizes what we're doing. And to be able to kind of go back and forth between the cohort kind of gives us the encouragement to go forward with our own project. That's kind of been the biggest value for us.
Yeah, for me, I think going through Remarkable has given us this pool of high caliber mentors that have been dedicated their time to support us through the program. And their advice and mentorship has allowed us to grow as a business and as a team.
The highlight for me was probably the stakeholder and investor night. I think that was pretty amazing that we were able to all have such an amazing network and a networking opportunity, and despite the fact that we're going through this huge pandemic and it's been such a challenging time to operate that. So I think that was pretty awesome that all these things have still been able to go ahead. and it's been a really huge success.
We've obviously been living through a pandemic during the accelerator. How have you found working remotely and trying to build a startup during COVID-19?
I found that it all kind of comes down to having a healthy lifestyle full of physical and mental health conscious habits, and having the right attitude towards your work. Especially when you work as a team, we've been keeping each other accountable, making sure that each one of us feels, the love and support that you really need in this situation. And I guess the other piece of that is using the right tools for the right job. So things like Trello and Airtable are perfect for our organization because it allows us to focus on the right things to make sure that we're solving the right problems.
I want to find out from you where you hope Maslow will be in 5 years' time.
Some of the impact we're seeing in the community currently, and some of that positivity that we're seeing for people that can access rehab at home, or that are saving time managing carers, or saving time admitting their life, we want to see that everywhere. We want everyone in the world that's living with paralysis or that's living with high care needs to be able to save that time and have that impact as well. And on the other side of that, we want to change the way that therapy is delivered. So really focusing on a model that builds in-home supports rather than one that relies on physical consultations, because as we've seen throughout this lockdown, that's going to need to become the new normal for people to become self-efficacy. And our role in that is we want to be the wellbeing tool of choice for people living with paralysis and people living with care needs globally to facilitate that change.
Now, Steve, I know you're training for a half marathon skiing. Tell us a little bit about that, why you're doing it and what you hope to achieve.
Yes, I suppose with the whole lockdown of coronavirus, saw a bit of opportunity with a little bit of extra spare time, obviously being bunkered down and not going out anywhere. I was luckily able to meet a personal trainer that was able to continue the services. It gave a massive opportunity to set some physical goals for me because I'm looking at returning to driving and using a hand cycle to get out and about and do some more social stuff post this whole situation. So set a bit of a goal for myself to be able to complete a half marathon ski, and then decided to turn it into a fundraising opportunity for some work that Griffith University are doing around olfactory cells and spinal cord regeneration after injury. So that was the whole thing. And also wanted to say thanks for the support that both my team members and also the team at Remarkable have showed for that during the time. So thanks very much. But yeah, it's been a huge challenge, and I've got about a week left, so starting to get a bit nervous. But yeah, it should be all right, I reckon.
Well, congratulations for the work you're doing. You're an amazing team, and we're excited to see where Maslow goes. So thanks, everyone.